Hello and welcome to Smartkarma's corporate webinar. I'm your host, Maliha Hadi. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting 17Live CEO and Executive Director, Honghui Jiang, who also goes by Jack. Jack, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
We will start the webinar with Jack walking us through a company presentation, after which we will jump into a fireside chat to delve deeper into 17Live's product suite and strategy. We're also taking live Q&A for this webinar, so I would request our attendees to post their questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of their screens. During the webinar, we will also share some links on how you can connect with 17Live, and so please do keep a lookout for messages in the chat box. Let's dive right in with an introduction to 17Live. Jack, over to you.
Thank you, Maliha. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, today I'm going to run through quickly a short corporate presentation about 17Live, and then I'll take questions from the floor. And before I start, maybe just a little bit of short introduction about myself. My name is Jiang Honghui, so you can call me Jack as well. So I joined the company officially in August. But of course, for those people familiar with the SPAC scene in Singapore, you won't be unfamiliar because I was actually running the SPAC during the 2 years when the SPAC is IPO, after SPAC IPO. Then subsequently, in December last year, we completed the SPAC, the merger with 17Live, and becomes 17Live as a listed company since 8th of December last year. So, and after helping the company as one of the shareholders, and eventually I took on this new challenge to become the CEO of the company since August of this year. So without further ado, let me just go through this presentation and then just give you an overview about what the company is. Thank you. So some of this may be familiar contents and material to you because I think I've shared something similar during the first half review. But just bear with me. I will go through it a little bit different to highlight some of the key points instead of going through just everything in detail. So first of all, just a quick recap for those people that are not so familiar with our business. So essentially, 17Live, we are a pure play live streaming platform. So when we say pure play, it actually means that we are doing nothing but live streaming. All right. So everything is around live streaming. So all the business model is on live streaming as well. So which means that whatever the content that you've seen on 17Live platform is live streaming content. So over here we have live stream content coming mostly from Japan and Taiwan. It will consist of mainly two kind of live streaming content. One is we call from human live streamers or livers. And the other one coming from virtual live streamers, or we call the V-livers. So the difference between the two is one, actually you see the person in real person, and the other one you see a person acting out like an anime character or avatar. All right. So and instead of in addition to just live streaming platform, we also actually have our own IP. So IP, when we say IP, it's referring to actually virtual liver characters. So you think of them as the likes of Hello Kitty, the likes of other kind of top popular animes, from Japan. Could be Spy Family or Chikawa or whatever. So IP basically is a character that we created, but is powered by human streamers behind the acting as a voice. So we also have our own IP business, which we launched since sometime in late 2023. All right. So without the next slide. So let me go through a little bit more about our so-called business model. So over here, in short, briefly, everything is centered around live streaming. So as a user, somebody who log in to the app and start watching the live streaming, the first thing that you will encounter, you have to do, you actually buy the virtual points. Virtual points on 17Live, we call actually the baby coins. Right? So you buy the baby coins or buy the virtual points. And with that virtual points, you can do a few things. You can actually do the gifting, which is the majority, the business model currently on 17Live, gifting to the live streamers to show support, show appreciation. You can also use the gifting points, the so-called the virtual points, actually to play some of the mini games in app. So that's a game. And then the other part is live commerce. Live commerce, you actually can use the points or you can use sometimes payment directly with a credit card to buy those goods and merchandise that's being sold by the live streamers. So the majority of our platform, the business model actually come from the gifting part of the live streaming, which is the first box on the top. So that's the business model. All right. So a little bit more about the financials. Again, these are the numbers that you probably have familiar with from our first half results. But I want to just summarize this a little bit in short and highlight a few key points, right? So over here, I talk about the 6 points generally. But if you were to think about grouping them together, 1, 2, and 4, essentially talking about the same thing. So what it means is that actually company has been going through a round of optimization at the beginning of this year, which was carried out in continuation with some of the strategic effort that we've been focusing on since last year. So essentially what 179 has been doing since 2023 until early part of this year is we focus more on maintaining our profit margins, instead of chasing up just the revenue and then and sacrifice margins and profits like some of the internet companies that has been growing top lines while having a big burn on the bottom line. So we are not doing that. In fact, we are maintaining a healthy gross margin, and which then translated to a healthy so-called profit margin, operating profit margin to the end. So this is what we have been doing since 2023. So first half of this year, we did further effort to further doing the operational optimization. That actually bring up our profitability a bit higher. So which turned out that our first quarter, second quarter, we have seen an upward growth momentum when it comes to the profitabilities. Maybe the next slide will be a bit easier to see. Yeah. So you can see that the top right chart, you can see from the first Q 2024 to second Q 2024, we actually shown a turnaround in terms of operating income. And this comes from our continuous effort to maintain our gross profit above 40%, which in this industry actually is quite high. So this is generally the trend, the effort that we have been making to keep the profitability. And that's the core focus of the company since 2023. Maybe to go back to the last slide a little bit. Yeah. So other than that, the other few things I want to highlight here is that we have been keeping our balance sheet strong, essentially with no borrowings as of end of June. And then all cash, I think was about 86 million or 87 million around there, US dollar, in terms of cash balance. So that actually give us the firepower actually to go and pursue our forward strategy. We'll talk in a minute. All right. So this is so-called our cash position. And last but not least on this slide, I want to emphasize one last point is point number 6, which some of you may already have noticed that we have announced, holding our EGM in this coming Thursday. So this EGM actually is one of the key agenda in this EGM is part of I would say, the whole strategic plan, how we are committed to drive the shareholder value. So this is relating to the buyback that currently we have announced, but of course we have to pass through the shareholder resolution during EGM on this Thursday. Yeah. So and then there will be further activities as we progress. So this is part of the overall strategic plan that we plan to actually to drive shareholder values for 179 Life. All right. So let me go through the forward strategy, which is a core in terms of driving our business forward. So you can see on the top, there's essentially 3 boxes. All right. So starting from the left, you have us, we're focusing on strengthening our existing platform using both technology and optimization. So this is the first one, the core business. Our core business is a live streaming business, is the virtual gifting driven live streaming business. All right. So that's the first thing that we are talking about. And mostly we're talking about human live streamers, not the virtual V-livers. All right. So that's the first box on the left. The second box, the one in the middle, is revenue diversification. So this is where we diversify from the core human live-based gifting business to something more. So currently we have 3 main new business that the company is working and driving on. The one that we talk about the most is the V-Liver, which I'm going to elaborate further. So V-Liver essentially is a virtual live streaming, as I mentioned just now. It's a human live streamer, but streamed behind an animated avatar, and usually a very much Japanese anime looking. So that's a V-Liver. And the second business that we drive the revenue diversification is the live commerce business. And currently, our main focus for live commerce actually is cross-border live commerce out from Japan to Taiwan at the moment. I will talk about a bit more in the next couple of slides. And last but not least, we will continue to focus on strategic partnership opportunities. So essentially here, we're referring to a bunch of, perhaps inorganic so-called growth opportunities, which we have announced the acquisition of a company called Encraft. So that is a vLiver so-called IP company. They actually possess over 100 IPs. 100 IP basically means 100 IP, 100 characters. Yeah, which behind the 100 characters is more than 100 streamers. So these IPs, we are adopting a so-called both IP plus platform approach, which I'm going to cover on the next slides. So essentially, these three business are the three key focuses: core business, new business, and inorganic partnership and acquisitions. All right, so these are the forward strategy focus going forward. And particularly on the vLiver, I want to elaborate a little bit more about why we adopted this quite unique two-pronged strategy. So if you look at the other players in the market, usually they are either platform players, like for example, you have VTubers, which is basically virtual livers that's live streaming on YouTube. That's a VTubers. So YouTube is a platform, right? So Twitch is a platform. There are other platforms in Japan, like Reality, like Iriums and all that, which are virtual livers, live streaming platforms. They're purely platforms. Platform means that they're not involved in their own IP or talent development. They basically let third party to go and stream on their platform. So this is the business that we have been developing since the beginning of 17Live many years back and until sometime last year. So we decided to go and branch into this IP business. Basically, it's not just as a platform, but we also go and create, whether organically, sometimes we like what just now I mentioned, we also can do it inorganically, means we buy over some IPs from other studios and companies like the Encraft just now I mentioned. So this IP business is an add-on to our platform business. And why this is important? Because think about IP creations like any kind of, creating idols or creating a movies or creating anything which is creative. Sometimes it's very difficult to so-called to predict which one is going to be popular. So as a platform, if a platform only business without IP, you cannot so-called double down, or if some IP become really popular, you can't be able to double down and then be able to so-called maximize the returns on this particular IP. But if you're running purely IP business, which some of the other Japanese company does, and then you're always running a risk of choosing and selecting what is IP to develop. So, for example, I'll give you an example, like the two most well-known IP, vLiver IP companies in Japan. One is called AnyColor, the other one is called Cover. AnyColor runs this platform called Nijisanji, and then Cover runs this platform called HoloLive. So the two combined manages about 250 to 300, around 250 to 300, less than 300, the two combined of vLiver IPs. That's total. So that represent only roughly about 1% of the market share. So it means that it is very difficult for them to scale beyond certain numbers, because actually managing more IP can be very challenging. But because they are only IP business, they have to choose and select and then to market, create all these IPs. It becomes difficult because they don't have a platform they can rely on, right? So for us, we have this advantage of both a platform and IP. So we can, based on the platform, be able to see what are the potential ones that can become IP. So this can help us to eliminate a lot of the screening, a lot of the so-called the selection process, and we're able to find out the one which is more potential, can have so-called better in terms of increasing fan base and all that. So we can use that engine to further to develop our IP business. So this go hand in hand. So that's why we believe this unique hand-in-hand platform for IP business allow us to eat into the larger 10 market. So over here, you can see this is industry data. You can see the live streaming alone is about 5 billion. If you add the virtual live business, That's another 4 billion. But if we were to capture both and including the IP business, it become much bigger. It's an additional $13 billion market. And of course, overall, if you look at the bigger, it's even larger. So combining both IP and platform business is our strategy that we're taking for the VLiver. All right. So I'm not going to go through this further. Just now I already mentioned it early on. So this is the the two part that we've been focusing on since the beginning of this year: the internal optimization of core business. I mentioned about the various optimization that we have done on the technology stack, on the business organizations, and some of the management people organization upgrading and all that. So essentially, by doing that, we are able to keep ourselves at a good margin, especially the gross margin and all that. And of course, business development, this is where we do for the so-called acquisitions. I mentioned Aircraft just now. And I can also, mention, actually now it's 5:15. So we actually have just announced on SGX. Maybe can go to the next slide. So other than Aircraft, yes. So other than Aircraft, we have just actually announced on SGX, as of today, we have acquired another. This one is the VTuber agencies. So most of the, as you can see, all these characters that you have seen, all these are IPs. They are currently live streaming on YouTube. All right. So we are acquiring these VTuber agencies with these talents. They have more than 1.2 million of YouTube subscribers. So this is further strengthening our platform plus IP model. So this company is called Mikai. I mean, for people in Singapore may not be familiar, but the two characters that are standing at the middle of it, so they are both considered as top so-called VTubers in this on the YouTube platform. So with this, we are actually entering into the mainstream IP business for VLivers. Okay, so yeah, and yeah, I think I've touched mostly on this. Just now with the various things I've discussed. I will leave it more to Q&A then. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. That was very insightful, and congratulations on the announcement just now. I think we can discuss more on that, as you just mentioned, in the fireside chat. But before we move towards that, I think naturally the first question for me from my end would be on virtual live streaming itself, because it has been such a key part of your growth this year, right? So I want to understand, this is a relatively recent phenomenon. So what factors would you say have contributed to its recent rise in popularity?
Thank you, Maliha. It's actually a very good question. So, first of all, before I go into the recent trends, let me just highlight a bit of the rationale behind why people does virtual live streaming versus real live streaming. So, as I mentioned just now, actually behind whether it's human livers or virtual livers, is all driven by humans. So, virtual liver doesn't equal to AI livers. So, because sometimes nowadays people hear a lot of AI character, AI human, AI identity. So it's not AI. So actually here we're talking about virtual means only the appearance is avatar. Behind that, in this industry, we call the soul. The soul is still a human. So both human live streamers and virtual live streamers, both are human. The only difference is one uses avatar, the skin. So the reason why people do that, I mean, obviously, not everyone like to show their own face, right? For whatever reason. So those who like to show it, who has the confidence or whatever to show it and do it, they will go with a human live streaming route. And those that don't want to do that, they want to actually to still show the facial expression, still be able to vividly show emotions and then show facial movements, sometimes hand gesture and all that. Want to have the kind of human to human interactions, they will choose VLivers. So essentially, VLivers, if you look at it, is no difference from when you're looking at maybe like when you're watching an anime. You are talking to you with all the eyes, mouths moving as if like a real personality that's in front of you. So that's actually what virtual liver is. And as I just now mentioned, the number one reason why people doesn't want to use do human live streaming and instead of doing virtual live streaming is they don't want to show the face. And secondly, they not just change the face. Some of them even change the voice. So essentially, you can hide your identity totally. You can be a person that you couldn't be. So this is where very common in the VLiver world. So for example, guys can be girls and girls can be guys. So this is actually quite common. So some of the top very popular so-called V-Liver idol groups, very kawaii characters. Actually, behind that, actually is a boy or is a man. It happens. So again, this is that shows that you can be somebody that you want to be, and you couldn't be. So this is also one of the main driver reasons behind people wanting to stream in V-Livers.
That's very interesting. So from what I understand, Jack, high quality content creators are obviously a very important part of your business, right? I want to understand, what would you say are the primary barriers to entry for new content creators who are looking to establish themselves in, either the traditional live streaming or the virtual live streaming industry? And what does 17Live do to ensure that they get the right talent out there on top?
Okay. So for people who have done live streaming or who have seen people successful in live streaming in person, means you have really engaged in this. You know that actually just having good content and talent itself doesn't guarantee success. So live streaming actually is a very difficult industry to be successful. And then other than having talent and be able to be someone who's interesting and all that, you have to be very much persistent. Means the frequency and the duration that you stream, how regular you stream matters. And also whether you have somebody who are already popular that wanted to actually to show a bit of engagement with you, also important. And of course, along the way, there's a lot of support. It can be physical support when it comes to some kind of compensation. It can to be mental support. People sometimes just want somebody to talk to. And this whole support system is also very important. So this is what actually 17Live does that actually a lot of the other live streaming platforms don't do, is that we understand how important all these three factors means. Just I mentioned about how regular you stream, how much support you get, how much engagement you have from the large KOLs and all that. So we provide all these opportunities to people which on our platform, we find out this particular person, this particular live streamers have this potential. So we give them this support to allow them to grow from, say, 1 to 100. So the path actually is not an easy path. Without all this support, you can still become successful maybe, but it's a lot of luck, a lot of time, a lot of waiting, but we can do it much more proactively.
Got it. And so from what I understand, Jack, this is also one of the aspects of your revenue diversification strategy, that is talent management. And as you also mentioned, acquiring new IPs and expanding into that business. So can I understand, what market share do you foresee from these streams, outside of live streaming, and what is your go-to-market strategy there?
You mean for the IP business?
For your new revenue streams.
Okay, so currently our entire V-Liver business is still a small percentage of our overall business. I mean, take for example, the first half of this year, I think we announced that we have a V-Liver, we did something like 4.8 million versus total revenue about 101. So roughly it's about close to 5%. So currently our V-Liver business, mostly it was still platform business at the beginning of this year, the first half of this year. So as we go more into the IP business, and IP business typically grow faster, or rather IP, if you look at a market share in the V-Liver space, I would say IP business has a bigger share, about 70-80% of the TAM versus a platform. So which means that if you go into the IP business, our whole V-Liver, which consists of platform and IP, is likely to grow faster because of the IP, the faster growth of the IP. Sometimes you hit the right IP, the one IP can generate for you, so huge so-called revenue spikes and all that. So because this is the nature of IP, just think about a movie blockbuster, right? So so this is the nature of IP. But because of nature of IP, the up and down, the spikes can be sometimes unpredictable. That's why having a stable platform business be able to allow us to constantly be able to scout and look for new potential IPs is important. But I explain that both the platform plus the IP business is a very good combination. And we are actually the only platform so far to this scale that we are doing both concurrently in Japan. There's all other platforms either doing purely IP or purely platform. There isn't really like an IP plus platform business currently. Yeah.
Understood. I think there's a very interesting question coming in from the audience here, Jack, that I think would be quite apt to take here. The question is, if you could talk more about how you think about growing your IP portfolio, and if you could explain more about the capital allocation decisions you've taken here.
Yeah. So no, that's exactly what I mentioned about when we have the cash reserve, we use that to drive our forward strategy, right? And the forward strategy, the key part for new business is V-level. And then, of course, we can do it inorganically. So, and the reason why doing inorganic sometimes is a good approach, because the growing an IP from 0 to 1 actually can be quite challenging. It's very unpredictable. But once you see someone has grown from 0 to 1, and with the platform support, means we give them all the resources and all the, it can be just purely marketing resources, it can be collaboration resources and other event resources that we give them, they can grow from 1 to 100 relatively more predictable. So the 0 to 1 is unpredictable, but 1 to 100 is more predictable, something that which does better. So as a platform, we can discover when the 1 happened. So when you see the 1 happen, we can actually do it, whether we can grow it organically, or we can actually go and buy and such kind of IP production house to grow them quickly. So this is exactly what we are doing, for the last 2 acquisitions that we announced. One is Ancraft and one Midnight. So all this is potentially the IPs that we can do it this way. So, and we're going to continue to actually look out for, good so-called value for money purchases in this space to further grow our IP portfolios. And this will accelerate our overall business growth.
Got it. So let's dive a little into the financials as well, Jack. 17 Live recently in the past half year turned net profitable. So I want to understand, you achieved operational efficiency in the first half that enabled you to achieve this while also focusing on new lines of revenue. So are these adjustments something you believe are also sustainable and you can see them going on in the future as well?
Yeah. So as I touched upon briefly just now, actually since 2023, 17 Live has been doing this, which is basically we chose a strategic route not to sacrifice our margin. So of course, when you have competitions, when you have certain market shift and all that, one way is to maintain your market share, or so-called you grow your top line, is actually to lower down your profitability. So it happens in many other industries, right? I mean, e-commerce and all that, even including ride sharing. I mean, any platform business, you will have this kind of choice. But we chose the one to keep our margin versus keeping our so-called our market share. And the reason, because we think that this business, in the long run, if we decide to keep our top line and sacrificing our margin, this business will run to the end. Because we have seen some countries that when the margin shrinks essentially means, like, for example, you give very high revenue share, for example, to streamers and all that. And it will become a game that runs to the end, right? Because everybody starts to increase until there's no margin for this business. Until the whole live streaming business for the country, for the market, kind of like disappear or become irrelevant. So this happened in many markets. I mean, for example, if those of you that remember how live stream was in Singapore like 5-6 years ago, it was different. But now you hardly see the kind of live streaming that what we do in South Asia, largely because of the market competition people have drive using a margin sacrifice to exchange for market share. End up you're driving to the end. So we are trying not to do that. In fact, we have adopted the other strategy to keeping the margin, but sacrifice a bit of the top line, which is why you can see our top line, although top line drops, but our bottom line actually getting better. So of course, it was intentional, and then we have been done in a lot of cost optimization to keep us relevant in the market, and we have seen situation now much better for us because not only we have so-called stabilized in terms of market share in our top line, but we also maintain a rather good profitability, which is very rare actually in this live streaming world in Asia. So that's the choice that we have taken. And then I think as shareholder continue to follow us and looking at our returns and all that, looking at how we progress financially throughout second half, you'll be able to see something very different. So from maybe the first half or even before. So you'll be able to see how we can sustainably maintain our profitability and yet be able to grow. So this is something that we have been working towards, and then in this coming quarters and months. Yeah.
Okay, that's certainly very interesting. That I think when we talk about competition here, another question that naturally arises is we have seen there is a trend of virtual live streaming platforms also expanding globally, targeting new markets, right? Can we understand, as you also move towards an expansion strategy, how are you looking to differentiate your virtual live streaming offering from your competitors?
50% of the vLiver market globally currently is in Japan. And the
Mm.
other 50% spread across China, US, Taiwan, South Asia.
Yeah. Mhm.
Our core business is in Japan. So we believe that the most interesting IPs still coming from Japan. So which from our perspective, because we are running both the platform and IP, and we run our platform not just in Japan, we run it in Taiwan, runs it in in Hong Kong, and we can always extend to offering of the IP to Singapore as well. So we are actually will be doing differently from the other vLiver companies. For example, like the one I mentioned, the two Japanese vLiver IP house, any color and cover. When they come to overseas expansion, they need to rely on other platforms, which means that they can't really be operationalizing the local growth themselves. But for us, it's different. Let's say we want to launch our IPs in Taiwan from Japan. We have a ground team in Taiwan doing the launch. Because they run the platform, they can actually showcase, do the marketing and all that. So we're able to run things much more, I would say, homogeneously, because everything is in one house, and we can run things much more smoothly and leverage on various resources. So this is the great way we grow so-called IP cross-border outside Japan in a different way than the other people, because they all have to rely on other people to do it. We can do it ourselves. And where we will be different. And in fact, we are planning to do this going forward, because I think Taiwan is a very close market to Japan when it comes to virtual live streaming. And then this is the next market that we will go into very naturally for vLiver.
Noted. Got it. And I also want to talk about another segment of your business that also was growing this year, which is live commerce. So can you talk about the potential that you see there and what revenue you might see it contributing to your top line in the coming year?
So our live commerce is quite different from the live commerce that Singapore is used to, like for example Lazada, Shopee, or TikTok, or Amazon, or whatever. So because these are selling so-called common goods. Yeah, so every day, you buy groceries or whatever, you can buy other, household goods and all this stuff. So our live commerce actually focuses more on things which is unique from Japan. For example, I would say a lot of the so-called IP related goods, a lot of the special design-made goods that usually you cannot find outside Japan. So we does it cross-border. So the first country that we are trying this out actually from Japan to Taiwan. So we have started this business about 2 to 3 months ago. And although the volume is still relatively small, but the month-to-month growth is actually quite amazing. So because I think, like for example, I think for people in Singapore used to some of the IPs from Japan, let's say for example, just now I mentioned about Spy Family, Chikawa, and all that. So actually, these are the IP goods. Usually you cannot buy outside Japan. You have to go to Japan to buy it. So we actually allow this cross-border live commerce of these goods to actually sell into a country. So in this case, we already started selling in Taiwan, and we have team in Japan talking to these merchants and because they have been working with this merchant for many years. And then in Taiwan, we focus on selling. So we focus on seller outside Japan. We focus on sourcing the merchandise in Japan. So this is a unique sourcing and selling kind of dual strategy that we're using. So we are doing it. We are now trying this year. We're trying out in Taiwan, and we still see month-on-month growth very significant. And then once this this model is fully proven, when we have certain kind of volume, of course, we're going to think about other market to cross-selling too, other than just from Japan to Taiwan, maybe Japan to some other places, maybe South Asia. Yeah.
Got it. Actually, mentioning South Asia, Jack, that's another reason, then another market in your last statement that you had highlighted as maybe being, an area you want to expand to. So can you talk about your plans for that region as well?
You mean South Asia?
Southeast Asia, yes.
So South Asia, essentially, you know, I think I mentioned earlier. So if you want to start something new in South Asia, you will run into competitions. We know what we have, which is unique to other people's, because we have the goods, we have the IPs from Japan. So we have been using our IP, whether it's a V-level IP, and we're using the cross-border merchandise, which is again some of these IP-related merchandise and other things, which is Japan, unique for Japan. We'll start with this first. So we'll start with this and start with the cross-border and establish our name here. And before we run into other kind of expansion in South Asia. Yeah, because I think South Asia is actually a very, very competitive market. And we need to make sure that, you know, when we so-called, you know, spend our resources to grow this market again, because we actually spent resources in South Asia before. It didn't actually work quite well. I mean, about 2-3 years back. So now we're going to do it, redo it. We're going to do it differently. So this is why, you know, we're going to focus on our strength and then capitalize on our strength to grow in South Asia.
Got it. Thank you, Jack. I think that's very insightful. As you mentioned at the top, you can also now send in your questions for Jack using the Q&A button on your Zoom app. We actually have another question here for you, Jack. That is on your monetization model. What percentage of users buy virtual points, and are their dynamics similar to mobile gaming?
Yeah, so these two questions, right? Percentage of users buying virtual points. I believe we have disclosed the percentage during the de-SPAC time. If I remember, I don't have the exact number now, but it's somewhere between 20 to 30%. So basically means that you know, we call them spenders, all right? Spenders as a percentage of MAU. So our platform, the spender percentage of MAU actually is a very big number. And largely because people came to 17Live, there's a lot of engagement with the live streamers, so-called, you know, because for example, if you go into our streamer room, you will be called upon by the live streamers. They will know somebody coming in the room. They will call your name, call your nickname. So you, hey, somebody know that I'm coming. I better give this guy a little gift. So there's a lot of these kind of little things that we do our app that will encourage people from spending, starting with small money. And then as of course, as a more and more you start to get interested in the streamers, and you will start to support and appreciate more, right? So and actually the percentage is quite high. And then the other second half of the question, dynamic similar to mobile gaming, depends on what kind of mobile gaming you're talking about, because there are those pay to play or free to play better. There are those which is you know, purely at a buy an upfront fee. So it's very different kind of mobile gaming you're talking about. I think probably this is referring to those so-called free to play and pay to play better kind of mobile games, right? So those, in our case, of course, you want to have more interactions with the streamers. You end up, you know, doing more gifting, support, and all that. In that sense, a bit similar, but it's a bit different from games, because game, you know, you are not so much engaging with a person directly and getting so much feedback directly as well. Versus our platform is much more engaging. So it's a bit similar emotion, but different. Yeah.
Got it. And I actually have another question from the Smartkarma team that I wanted to address as well. We want to understand, how do you see AI and other new technologies impacting this industry, and how are you looking to incorporate that, you know, into your business?
So we actually have been using AI for the last 4 or 5 years, just that, you know, people doesn't notice it. So of course, the very first form of AI that we use is actually search. It's so-called search optimization and recommendations. So this was the earliest use case of AI since whenever you have search engine, since 10 years ago, you have that already. So in our app, when anybody comes in, everybody will have a different kind of landing page. Everybody will be recommended differently based on your behavior. So there's an AI engine behind. So that was like, no, we introduced that features about 4 or 5 years ago, ever since 2020. So, but that's not just it. And of course, with the large language models and all that, we're actually upgrading our AI. In fact, this month, we are announcing a couple of new AI features. So we have this thing called the AI assistant or AI co-host for streamers. Essentially, as a streamer, sometimes, you know, when you're talking, chit-chatting with the so-called viewers, you may not be able to handle everybody. Just like, you know, here, Maliha, you're helping me to, you know, to do the moderations and all that. Sometimes you need an assistant. You need somebody to give you some recommendation of what kind of topic I should be talking about, maybe helping you to answer a few of questions coming from the audience. So this thing we call the AI assistant or AI co-host. So this is a new feature that we've just announced and the release actually in this month. And we're also having this thing called AI Baby Streamer. So essentially it's our own so-called mascot. So-called 17 Live actually have the AI Baby is a mascot. We call the 17 Live Baby. So the baby actually does the broadcasting about the news of our platform and do Q&As and all that. So versus have a human have to do it, so we can actually have a baby doing it. So these are also AI. And there are a lot of other AI things which is not seen, but like for example, this is something we're going to announce, and I cannot say too much because it's a very to us, I think this is one of the major feature next month is to how can we let anybody to stream using a vLiver quickly. Because one of the biggest trouble with vLiver streaming is that although you don't need to do makeups, you don't need to make yourself look pretty because just put in and you can stream.
Yeah.
To own a good skin costs a lot. So in Japan, starting to get somebody to illustrate to draw a skin for you, you pay $100 to $200 US dollar.
Okay.
Starting. And you can go all the way up to thousands or 10,000s to get a really animated 3D skin. So the cost is very high, which then makes vLive streaming actually very expensive to start, very difficult to start. So that's why our app has been focusing from the day one we introduced vLive to make vLive streaming easy. You don't need to use computers, just use a phone and allow you to stream using all kind of images. So-called, since our introduction of the features. But next month we're going to introduce one more very important feature. There's some AI part of it, but mostly it will allow you to be able to create anime character is in seconds without paying. So which is why something which is, of course, there's quite a bit of the generative technology that we're using AI.
Yeah.
That's a new feature that we're announcing next month. So all these AI initiatives, and there's more to it. I mean, I'm not going to, I can't share too much now, but we are continuing to go and roll out new AI. So AI is actually one of the key underlying technology that drive a lot of our new feature development.
Brilliant. And would you say that this has led to more operational efficiencies for you as on a business
not just efficiency and creativity and possibilities, right? So with AI, I think I'm sure everybody have used ChatGPT or other kind of like Midjourney and all that. It's not just efficiency and productivity. It's actually things you have never done before. Now you can do it. And for example, I'm not sure whether how many of you have done a virtual gifting before. So in the past, virtual gifting, you have to, I mean, the gift is a pre-designed. You can't really do your own gift. But going forward, you can do any kind of gift you want, because right? So there's many these kind of possibilities that we are adding for live streaming that is not possible before. And thanks to AI, now everything become possible. Of course, our fundamental platform is actually now we are building a lot of the platform features for AI to allow us, to basically make the whole live streaming much more personalized, much more fun, and to do things which they have never been able to do before. So that's the AI magic that we're adding into 17 Live.
Got it. That's brilliant. We had a couple of questions from the audience, Jack, that I believe you have answered in your, very, very descriptive presentation as well. So with that, I think we can wrap this up. So thank you, Jack, for the detailed insights into 17 Live. This was a pleasure. And I would also like to thank our attendees who joined this session live and who asked some very relevant questions as well. For those who still have queries, you can definitely contact 17 Live on Smartkarma via the IR button on Smartkarma. So please feel free to do that there. Or you can also post your questions on the webinar's insight on Smartkarma. So with that, I would like to wrap up today's corporate webinar. Thank you, Jack, and have a great week ahead.
Thank you, Malika. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening.